Welcome back to 21 work session, official time 5:03. We can get a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Chairman.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, budget discussion. Who wants to start?
I can start off, Mr. Chairman. We're basically here to kind of follow up on the Saturday work session we had a while back, and you've got before you the list of items there, and then sort of towards the end of that, it's broken out into what received, I guess, what level of support at that time. And the main thing that we would ask of you tonight is to give us some direction on what out of this list you would like for us to put in a budget resolution for your consideration and hopefully approval on Thursday. I can tell you we have done some additional number crunching kind of since that work session, and I feel very comfortable in saying that you have sufficient funds to do whatever on this list you see fit to do. So just know that it's not a situation where the dollars and cents dictates that you strike things from this list. I think you're in a good position where you can make value judgments on what makes sense to do and what doesn't. So that's the primary objective, I think, today, is to kind of get your guidance on those items. And I'm gonna pass out, and I hesitate to give this out because it's still a work in progress, but we don't need to spend any time on this. Just wanted y'all to have this. This is kind of the summary sheet, and it's got the actuals going back to 2016.
Did you bring any magnifying glasses?
I know, I'm sorry.
No.
I should have printed this on the bigger sheet.
It's not your fault. I left my my sophisticated readers.
Can you borrow my biphone?
I might have to take your iPhone. Blow it up.
I can listen real good.
So anyway, you've got, conservatively speaking, you got about $2 million to work with, and probably closer to 2.5. So I have some ideas that I want to share with you later on in this for some of that that aren't necessarily on this list, but sort of big items that I wanted to throw out there for your consideration. But I think probably the primary thing we'd like to get through tonight is just any guidance y'all can give us. If you want to, we have here, if you flip over on the big blue sheet, you have what got support from all five, what got support from 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. And so you can do it in any number of different ways. If you want to tell us, include all the 5, 4s, and 3s, or include anything that got any support. One other thing we probably need some additional guidance on is how you might want to proceed on the salary increases. I know there were some different ideas on that. So that might be a place to start, Mr. Chairman, or however you'd like to
Sure.
to do it.
Personally, the 5, 4s, and 3s are I'm looking at it, I think that would be a good start. Obviously, going through some of the other ones, I still have reservations on them. I know there's something brought up about the pickleball, and I don't see a real big expense there, and I've had numerous calls about that.
Right.
I wouldn't have any problem myself moving the pickleball up into the 5, 4s, and 3s.
Yep.
And one other thing I saw, we are in need of some more pickups. it wasn't in the top 5, 4s, and 3s, was it?
It wasn't, and I think part of that, Chairman, was the explanation of the need might have been a little,
Right. I know
a
we
little
just,
blurry.
if, I mean, we've got some high mileage trucks running around, I mean, like in the 300s that, you know, it's just,
310 and 312 on the two that they're talking about
Right.
replacing.
and, I mean, that's, I get there, I have no argument. You've got to.
Correct.
You've got the goodie out of them, whether they're still running or not.
Yeah.
Just looking down here, the two pickups, I mean, really and truly, if we went to picking, I bet you we can find more than that needed. You've got several in the 300 range on some that. But they're just kind of around the, right there on site use, ain't it?
I got one that's mainly on site use, that's, you know, they say put on the road, I mean, we use it around the park, you know,
Right.
put it on the road.
Stuff like that, I mean, if it's useful, that it'd be fine, but
Right.
I'm just looking at the ones we're going, as I go around the county, look at some of these, and I'm like, wow, that's gotta be on up there without even looking at the,
And there is a big difference in, especially when one gets over 300, even 250, you're getting into a point of, is it gonna make it to the job? Is it gonna make it, is it gonna make it back? There's a big difference in some of the vehicles. I think requested maybe had 95, less than 100,000 miles, and maybe 15 years old. Still useful, low mileage, but it's got a few age on it, a few years of age on it, but still, it's got some years of service left and many miles to go.
you really wanna get your eyes open, go to the used car market, look at these 150,000 mile cars that are going for ridiculous, people are scarfing them up.
Correct.
Oh, yes, sir, I'd love to have that one. You know, it will really open your eyes.
Yep.
I think there were the two public works trucks, and then there were two for water and sewer on down towards the bottom there.
We thought there was a mention on water and sewer possibly taking a pickup that's at the tax assessor's office. It's not used for a pickup. It was mentioned at the last work session.
Correct.
We got a pickup at the tax assessor's office that I don't see any need for them to have a pickup. That possibly could be transferred to another department. And,
That would be a good use of the vehicle.
yeah, and then maybe utilize one of the sheriff's dependable units that's still good enough for that, to rotate off that as a car. And the sheriff can let us know which ones are worthy of keeping and.
That's right, and we can look at maintenance records
Right.
also.
And they've told us several times, if we ever decide to keep one, let them know, they can tell you the ones that are worthy of keeping, the ones that need to go. Even if we can swap one out a year, you know, to keep it rotated, that's what it took.
So we had one for the tax assessors.
But that car was less than 100,000 miles,
Correct.
you know.
That was the one that 2005.
Yeah, and my feelings going forward in the future, when we got a department head says there's one that they don't feel comfortable with, let's send it to a certified shop. Let them make that determination if it's worthy of fixing or if it's something we need to get rid of. They work on these vehicles every day and they can tell you right quick, yes, we can fix it, make it safe, or no, it needs to go. Mr. Kitchen, what's your thought?
So I agree with everything you said. I was back here looking on the last page that, because I think our original was to just put 20, right? So I think we had to, in my mind, I made sure we got the top priority in the first 20. So, because they didn't get any votes, I'm now sitting here thinking, okay, was it because there wasn't, validation there, or was it because it wasn't in the top priority? Because I'm seeing a lot of them in down the list here that we probably, if we had the money, we would have done them. And one of them I was looking at, just the equipment lift for the golf course. You know, just running a small engine shop like that in our parks was, that's a huge difference in time of what it was taking for a guy to work on them things, instead of jacking them up, putting them on jack stands and working them on them, and you gotta jack one side up, then the other side up, putting them on a lift like that. I mean, it cuts your maintenance time in half.
And the safety factor also of having a more substantial unit holding a vehicle or a piece of equipment off the ground safely. Do we know the mileage on the water and sewer pickups that were requested to replace by chance?
I don't.
It just, I know Public Works listed the mileage over 300, 312 and whatever, but there's no mileage listed by the age or mileage listed by the two that Public Works,
So I
water,
think-
sewer wanted.
I think I do recall that one of the water trucks would replace a wrecked vehicle that they didn't replace when it was wrecked.
And possibly that tax assessor's pickup may suffice for that.
And then the mower at the new mower, what was, Matt, what was the deal with that one? Is that a,
We have two grasshoppers that are just wearing out. And what we're gonna do is take two, and make one good one, take off, replace, mold two into one and have one good one and then just replace one. If we take the two and make one, we can probably get about 2 more years out of it, possibly 3.
so that one would probably go on my good list.
Right, the mower.
Yeah.
Just curiosity, what hours are you able to get out of those mowers? Are you know,
We can only get over 3,000 hours now.
yeah, you get that much on a zero turn, you've done good.
Right.
I happened to be up at the Morris Bank complex the last couple of weeks, a couple of times. That new part, there's a lot of grass grow up, so it's real thin, but I think at both entrances into there is in pretty bad shape. So, I mean, I don't know if this 17,000 is the right number, but I know there's a number that needs to be there.
I made an offer to Matt, and I even told him, if you're bored out there one day, you get your tractor out there too. I can tell him, I'd take my grader box out there, and you'd be surprised what that thing would do to that parking lot.
Right.
And then you can go by and find the thin areas and put gravel there. But
Beef it up.
I actually rode out and looked, and I mean, it's candidate all day long. You want it dry, so that,
Right.
but,
Sifts properly.
but it would reclaim a lot of that rock.
Yeah.
And, I'm not saying you won't have to buy any, but you can
You're gonna
reclaim
buy
a
a
good
lot
bit of
less.
that little rock. But, I just I'm playing catch up now.
Yeah, so do we put a number in there to do that with, or what do you think?
Which item was that on them?
Number 26, the gravel for the parking lot at Morris Bank. Chris was talking about reclaiming it with a tractor that digs it up and kind of digs some of the gravel back out of the dirt and reclaim some of the gravel. You may not need near as much to fill it in. Because I do know the entrances, both of them are washed down towards the ditch pretty good, so it's almost a one lane, either out or in.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's not an in and out on both sides.
So maybe now is a good time for me to throw this out there. Just,
All right, go for it.
so you got roughly $2.5 million to work with. Take a little over $1 million, so you got a little over $1 million worth of requests here on this list. And so, if you shave off the stuff that got 0 votes, you're at right at $1 million. To pave the parking lot over there at Highway 18, last time we checked, it was about $1 million. I don't know, there's some grading work that has to be done. So if you figure it costs $1.2 million to go over there and grade it and pave it, that gets you to $2.2 million. And then the other thing that, and Matt's heard me say this a bunch of times, and I don't know why it bothers me so, but I would love to have that parking lot paved over there at Highway 18, just for the sense of being complete. I think if we If we do that and we do the interior walkway stuff that's on the list, then, you know, there's maybe not everything there that was originally envisioned, but what's there is complete. I mean, it just seems unfinished without that. The other thing that sort of sticks with me always, bothers me, I guess, is probably the right way to put it, is down at 49 at Matty Wells. You know, we've got the gym building there. We've got I think a new roof on it, new air conditioners. We've recently redone the floor and that kind of thing. But when you go to drive in there, you turn in the parking lot and there's a giant telephone pole sitting right in the middle of it. You have to kind of dodge that, and then you work your way off onto just kind of a little pig path, a little gravel path that leads back over there, and there's no parking or anything established there. And so my thought was, you know, maybe, and I don't know, I haven't had Tim or anybody else do estimates on all this. This is just stuff that came out of my head. But so I was thinking that if you went and did a paved drive going back in there, and maybe cleared out some of the trees in the right of way there so it's more visible, and maybe did some access control to the site, so that it wasn't just open for anyone at all hours. You know, you may have $290,000 or $300,000 worth there. And so between the $1 million worth of stuff on the list, the Highway 18, 1.2 million, and then 290 down there, you're basically at your 2.5 million, and you'd still have maybe 50,000 sitting in the contingency. Now that's going to create a situation where, you know, when people come up during the year, you know, saying I need a truck or I need a this or I need a whatever, you're going to have to tell them no, or you're going to have to pull from fund balance. But I think those are two projects that are just kind of hanging out there, you know, kind of unfinished, that I think maybe we're in a position to go and finish now. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out. You know, that's just one man's thoughts, but.
Yeah, I mean, we hadn't finished it. Like I said, both parks can use some work. Just curiosity, how many, as far as parking places, what's an average vehicle traffic or parking down on 49?
And the Matty Wells,
Yeah, how much space you think we need for there? Because, yeah, it's a big path.
we average, Monday through Friday, we average about 30-something people a night. I'd probably say 2/3 drive there. Sundays you generally have more outside play, which means you have more people, but you have more walk-up people from the neighborhoods. But you're still having probably 25, 30 cars. So like you need at least 30 parking spaces.
That's what I'm getting to. You think 30 would be the magic number?
I'd say no less than 30 to 50.
Right.
And what'd you say the price was on that?
This is just Jason pulling the number out of the air. It was 250,000.
Wow, I need to get paid a bit.
I mean, but I'm talking about a path going back in there.
There's,
You know,
there's quite a bit of subgrade work that need to be done.
yeah.
So
Is
none
there-
of it's all gravel.
Yeah, it's all gravel. Yeah.
Gravel and dirt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, guys. I struggle with $1 million in the parking lot. I know that park needs to be finished. Like, what else, you know? And not just Highway 18, just in general. What else could you use $1 million for? And I started thinking about just this building, and we've outgrown this space. The elections has outgrown this space, and going back to when the courthouse was talking about building. You know, in my opinion, we need to co-locate. Most of the other counties have done that. We know that we need to make better use of this space for some other entity, maybe. But, you know, I think we've long outlived the space. And literally, you know, I was sitting here calculating with Jason, the amount that we would pay on $1 million is what we pay for a sheriff out front, literally. That would add a floor, add the space, because we know we've got some long-term issues here. And I'm not trying to run away and leave it for somebody else, but you know, I think there's a certain obsolescence that comes with this building that we can't overcome, no matter how much digging, cleaning, refurbishing we do. And literally, if the health department was interested, wow, we could create space where they really don't have to shut down and we don't have to rent another space while they're working on it. If we want to hit a checkbox, okay, drop $1 million on the parking lot. And I can't even say that with a straight face. Just because I think of all the other things that might come before that. And I don't know where we are. Water and sewer, big, long term. I'd be trying to put $1 million down on a, you know, package plant, me personally. Because once we build the infrastructure, we got to pull a switch, and we won't have anything to pull the switch to. And we know we've got water issues that are beyond even some of the things that we've allocated funds for. So I'm more inclined to do those things than I am to do a parking lot. And only because we've all been parking on that parking lot from when my kids were kids playing football up there. And that's saying something. My son's 26 years old. He was 6 years old playing football in Jones County. Dang.
Mine's 37 and
Yeah.
everything on that parking lot.
Absolutely.
Well, I will say, Damon, that you know, when you talk about the courthouse project and the money we put back on, you know, renovating it and getting more space utilization, I think that committee is kind of took a little bit of a step back just because of what you were talking about was, all right, do we just build space for the courts, or do we build space for the office and leave the courthouse for courts? And then it's like, okay, well, you got the DA's office, you got the, you know, health department's looking at something, school district's looking at doing something, and so we had so many moving parts that it was, okay, let's back up and make sure that we're doing this one time, so that if we need to move a department out of here, then we got room to move elections, or we got room to move the ag program for 4-H, or you know, maybe this is a county offices building, but not a boardroom, DA's office. You know, maybe the tax commissioner or tax assessor don't need to be in this building, but you know, all the things you talked about. What needs security? You know, if you need security, it needs to be in a secure building. You know, and if it's an office, it doesn't have to have the public coming in where you got to worry about that security all the time. We do. So I think that's being looked at. First of all, I know $1 million won't touch any of it, but none will not touch it either. And I'm with you. I'm having some real heartburn over $1 million on a parking lot, because what we're going to catch is, I can see it in black and white right now, of all the roads we got that need work on them, and y'all gonna pave a parking lot for 1/10 of the population for the kids. I don't have any kids, but I live on this road that's been on the list for 20 years.
Right.
Matter of fact, it was number 2 on the list for 13 of those years.
Well, I'm glad you said that. So,
That was my next statement was, you know, we've already been told by the Board of Education that we've got 2 roads, McKay and Cheehaw, that would need to be paved, because, you know, they've got that property sitting over there, the cross-country track's on right now, and it's, you know, it's just a matter of time before, you know, I can see Board of Education saying we need another school.
and I've got at least 10 roads in my district. I mean, I've been talking about Sage for a while. I mean, you ride down Sage, and my Lord. Yeah, we got some equipment issue with, but, you know, that's on us. We should have did some better planning with roads. But
Yeah.
there are a lot of roads that we could do, and I don't want to not do a parking lot just for the sake of, but I'd rather not do a parking lot for the right things we need to do. And if it's knocking off 8 or 9 of these roads, I'm okay with that. I'm looking at the package plant. We know it takes 2 years plus to get one running, right? Today's a good day to get started, so it'll be ready when the rest of the project is done. So, like our infamous leaders talk about in Bibb County, I'm beginning with the end in mind. You know, when we get there, I'd rather, you know, we have a connection to it.
We got a lot of need.
Oh,
We do have a lot of needs, and I was going to ask a question about the 18 parking lot. Stormwater management on that property, is there already an underground grid system under that parking lot with intermediate grates throughout, or is it just all shed off to one end?
It sits off to one end, but it'll set up for curb and gutter, and there's storm drain pipe, and then a pond in the back.
Okay, so it would have to have all the stormwater pipes put periodically the storm grates throughout the parking lot.
I would think most of them, probably 85, 90% of them are in.
Okay.
It's a matter of catching some curb and gutter in places to channel it to.
And then I'm gonna say this, John, because you paused for just a quick second. Then I came to rollback. Like I wrote rollback first. I think like $1 million. Like if we really didn't need it. I'm just saying.
Still got room for finding, I mean,
I'm just saying.
5 years, we found a lot of waste.
Right. There's
That's why
still,
That's why we're right now. I mean, there's still more to be done.
there's some efficiency items that we need to address administratively. Because I think we're throwing some good money after bad in certain areas, and that needs to be addressed. And that's another avenue to lower the millage rate, because that's the number one request I hear besides paving. Our taxes are too high, millage rate's too much, and our roads are crap. And they use other words. So,
Absolutely.
And I would, nobody likes to pay taxes. I agree that I think our taxes are too much, but, you know, every time I hear somebody say roll back taxes, I would rather say be more efficient with my taxes.
Right.
And get the stuff done. So the problem is having crappy roads and paying high taxes. If you didn't have crappy roads, people wouldn't say so much about the taxes. But if we roll back the taxes and we still have crappy roads, you're still going to
you haven't accomplished anything.
you're still going to have people complaining about the roads, because nobody's ever going to say, okay, y'all rolled them, I'm good now. I'm good. Taxes are fine. Don't worry about my taxes. Most people will say, I know that we're going to pay taxes, and I know, you know, to live in a good community, you're probably going to pay more. But we got to show, and I think we've done it over the last years, that we are not only transparent, but we're conscientious of how we're spending people's money, and we spend it the right way. And I think to me, that goes farther. The rollback is a one-time deal. The $1 million would touch a lot of roads. And not saying that's the way to go with it, but so on our LMIG, didn't our LMIG allow for parking lots?
You know what? They've told me different things through time. The last thing I was told by them was that it does not. We did the parking lot at the golf course not too long after I got here, and that was perfectly okay at that time. But apparently sometime between then and the last year or so, the rules changed on that. So
I think one
It has to be a through road.
I bet the
Cannot
last,
lock the gate on
the last time we inquired, I think one of the things was is when you come down Allen Green and you get to that first stop sign, you'll have to be able to have access all the way around the park and come back out 24/7. You won't be able to lock off the park.
We do now. We just lock off the gates going down into the park, right?
We got 2 yellow gates where you can't get around to the back side of the park. You can get to the parking lot, but you can't get to the back. In order to use the LMIG, you gotta be able to circle it whenever.
it. So the gates have to come out.
We ain't paving the road around it. We turning left and we're coming right back out on the other one, on Recreation Road.
They didn't classify the road. Then
It's a road now.
it's got to begin somewhere and end somewhere different.
It does. It comes in on Allen Green and it comes out on Recreation Road. So seriously though, when you come to the end of Allen Green and there's the gate there going around the park, you turn left and you go by the parking lot, straight on through to the next parking lot, turn left and go back out to 18.
Those two parking lots don't join. You can make them join, but they currently don't join. There's an island with trees and everything separating the two parking lots.
The road out front of them.
Oh, the road does, yes.
Yeah. So when you turn in that road and you turn up in the parking lot, we don't lock two gates on either end of the parking lot, do we? So it's a through. It comes in one area and comes out somewhere else.
Right.
It's a road. It's a bypass.
Just prepared to pay it all back.
I'm just saying, Jason, figure out a way to put that on the helmet. And we went from a $17,000 gravel problem to $1 million.
sorry about that. And I don't want to take up the whole hour talking about that, because that's something y'all can, you can just leave the excess money sitting in contingency and come back to this whenever. I ended up going way down the rabbit hole on this whole thing, and I'm going to send this around and y'all can just study it later on. But basically, I was kind of thinking through other needs for that money beyond the present year. So there are different scenarios here that you could use that money, assuming we can replicate the $2 million excess year after year. So y'all can take those home and just study them later or throw them in the garbage. But
Yeah, I do want to say this, I think we've made great strides and great savings over the last 5 or 6 years, but there's more to be found, but we're not gonna keep finding that same money every time.
Right.
So, I mean, we're saving it every year, but we don't see that additional savings every year, so it's just maintained, it's not, if we find $1 million year one, it's not $1 million year two, $1 million year three.
yeah,
I'm struggling how y'all say save, so help me with this. In 2017, we had 16.99 million in the budget. And in 2021, we have 21.6 million. We didn't find $4.7 million, and we definitely didn't save it. So we're spending it. So and this is going back to rollback. Not that I'm saying this much longer about rollback. We've increased the budget roughly 25% in 4 years. And theoretically, we've never spent a penny. Not that that's realistic. We did have raises and things of that nature. But a lot of what we do, is funds that were generated. I think maybe the ESCO saved us a good bit of money, right? And then they found some more properties and put them back on the tax rolls. But if I found $4.7 million over the last 4 years, how do we not strongly consider some of the other fiscally smart projects like tightening around budgets? Because if we went down to 16.99 in 2017, with the exception of cost of piping and things of that nature and salaries, we haven't seen a 25% increase on most of the services or goods we pay for. And I'm just talking about how we manage it, right, to make it tighter and leaner, right? Because it looks like growth. If anybody else looks at it, just like straight on, right? It's 16.99 in 2017. It's 21.6 million in 2021. It's hard to say we save taxpayers money. I'm just trying to understand that, so I'm clear.
I know health insurance has gone up, how much? Over $1 million? Am I wrong? Well, we've had some, health insurance has been the biggest kicker in the last several years.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, this year we're about to spend an additional $1 million. Like, literally, just right here is an additional spend of $1 million. We didn't save $1 million and spend $1 million. It's an additional spend. And I know we've had some increases, and we're working like the devil to get it down with the healthy things, right? And our moderate has gone down some. But we can't, another one of my wise mentors says, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie. And then the numbers can't lie. It's 16.99 in 2017 and 21.6 in 2021. So there's a growth of spending. So how do we get tight, right, leaner, and still be able to do more, right? Because I think we can if we're really talking about not spending as much, but then really fixing roads and doing those other things. And I'm only saying that for long-term investments, whether it's, sewer, whether it's the courthouse, because those are legitimate expenses that we have. And we're going to incur expenses that we have to put somebody someplace while we work on something. I get that. But I just want to make sure we're being as lean as we can. And I don't want it to be $1 million slush fund all year where everybody just parades up and they need a new truck because we got funds,
Yeah, that's
This is,
tough leaving it in there, but
yeah,
I would argue that we didn't increase taxes. I hadn't voted on a tax increase since I've been here. So we didn't increase the revenue, but we saw an increase in revenue. So A, we got more sales tax. B, we refined some processes where, and this is giving credit where it's due at the tax assessor's office, where we didn't increase people's value. Because I look at all of my properties, 2018, 19, and 20 are the same value. So I'm not increasing in value. Therefore, I'm not paying more every year. So I got nothing to complain about. I didn't raise my tax, didn't raise my value.
Right.
So but what we're seeing is people are paying differently because it was not assessed or valued or whatever the right way.
Amen.
Now, people are not happy about that, but it is what it is, and we're seeing the benefit of cutting out the waste, being transparent, and doing things the right way. So I think we're seeing a higher revenue stream then. So every year we've had a balanced budget So I don't think we're increasing the budget, and inflating the budget in I'm looking for the right word. We're not increasing it, in a detrimental way. We're increasing with positive growth. Do I think we're gonna keep increasing like that? No. I think we're increasing because we're doing the right thing. But at the end of the day, the process is only this big. If you refine it down, we're finding smaller areas to fix, I guess, or smaller holes to plug. There were some big holes in the water department. There were some big holes in the tax areas. There were some big holes in the checks that the chairman was signing every month and every week. You know, I mean, these are all holes that we plugged up that makes it look like we've got more revenue
Yeah,
because we're spending better.
Yeah, I think if I saw like Public Works numbers really go down, or even the water department, I probably would be like, yeah. You know, because those are the only departments that really consume a lot of resources, you know. Not only, but I know Parks and Rec has this thing, but, you know, just historically, those have been the two large departments. So if I saw those kind of decreases, yeah, you know, and even the leaning of parts of organizations to make them more efficient, absolutely, you know. I probably would be right on there with it. And I'm not disputing that we haven't had any savings, because I know we have. The ESCO's made a big difference, and I know you guys are doing some tuning. But when I see those two departments, those numbers drop below, let's call it 2019 numbers, then I'll probably be, you know, rooting right behind you. So, again, I just don't want $1 million as surplus.
Yeah, I don't either.
So with the exception of all the things that I got no, just in case I missed something, y'all are still going through the rest of the list, or are these tentatively approved because they got more than three or more votes, which would be a simple majority?
Yeah, that's what Chairman recommended originally, 5, 4, and 3 votes. Get on the good to go list.
Okay.
So, yeah, my recommendation, that's.
And then we talked about the pickleball courts. Many of us gotten conversations about that, and then the Public Works pickup trucks that had 310 and 312, 310, 312,000. Then on the back sheet, even on the ones that had no, the equipment lift and the mower that we were just talking about for recreation.
And you mentioned use of the basketball courts on 49. It appears they've fallen off the list, and I know Jason said he was putting some back on there. Were there any other ones that fell off that you're familiar with?
No, that was the only one that I should have added but didn't.
Okay.
Basketball at 49 or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was one Commissioner Martin asked
Right.
to be
That's
added.
up at the Matty Wells.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think I asked for 2 courts up there because we are seeing increased usage. And my philosophy is, if you take care of kids, you don't have to worry about them being in jail. I'd rather spend $22,000 on a basketball court than $32,000 incarcerating one. And the other
Yeah,
zeros.
we're seeing usage out there, good usage, and, you know, that has been a complaint about, you know, about 49 not getting the same attention as the complex. That's been going on for 20, 25 years, but the fact of the matter is, more people would rather come to Central Complex. There is a certain number of people and people that want to stay over 49 because it's closer, more convenient to them. But, you know, we've never had football at 49, and people used to say, well, we're not going to 18. When I was on that board over there, we're not going to 18 to play baseball, but you're going to play football. I don't understand, because we don't have football here. So that has always been a struggle, but I do think we got an upward trend out there at Matty Wells with the gymnasium, and now with the oncoming track, and we're seeing the usage out there. I think that's I'm not saying spend the money that would have been 49 over there, but I mean, people are kind of going to use it. I mean, if they're using it, support it.
Yep. Amen. And I think once Splosh comes in and we're able to put the playground out there too, that makes it really more of a park. 49 The other area is the baseball park, period. It has to have a football field in the back, but we know that's dedicated baseball. And I'd rather not compete with that on a Saturday trying to get in a little playground time when we know that basketball and other activities is going to be up the hill. Just out of curiosity, the IT, managed services, I know he said he didn't need it, but eventually he was going to need it at some point. And then,
That was
Line item 15.
right, because he's managing it right now by himself. I know we talked about an alternative with potentially bringing somebody on to assist, because if he goes home, we have no backup. Literally, he's a one-man shop,
Right. Have an assistant.
right, that controls the entire network. So if we're not doing that, can we at least get him an assistant or a part-time somebody? Right. If we're not doing managed services, because I know we talked about an alternative solution. And when Will says, hey, you probably want to bring somebody on to help out, probably a good idea.
And here's an idea, if it's not a full-time where it's constantly doing IT work, why can't that person be cross-trained to possibly help in Brian's office or another office in the building? That way it's kind of I'm not going to call it a floater, but it would kind of, primarily be an IT backup, learning that in case Will's out, but it could cover if somebody's out in another department.
I don't personally have a problem with that. I don't know if that meets Will's needs,
Right.
From a pure training
Primary for
aspect.
him,
Yeah.
but could back up somebody else if they happen to be out for any reason.
Yeah. I see value in that, without exception, because anybody that can understand the Tyler program as well as the other pieces of the puzzle here makes sense. Again, I don't know what his needs are, so I don't want to,
That'd be a question to ask
Yeah.
him.
I just wondered if the management service has any kind of warranty for their services, a lot of times these companies that go in and bid service work on, say, give an example, AC unit, maybe the hospitals. They've got a set price, and some of that set price actually has included in, above and beyond the norm. I just wondered if that was an opportunity to hear that maybe we had a little warranty, along with the services that, this is what it covers in the event of.
Yeah.
And you don't know until you ask.
Yeah. And my biggest concern is, Will has been the only one in that department forever. Not that Will I don't know that Will's been out significantly ever where we were compromised, but, due to COVID, I'm a little more aware of somebody being out and the impact that could have. So, again, if we're not doing managed services, and again, I'm not advocating for managed services, but I am advocating for Will at least have an assistant, because that's one of those critical department heads that, if he goes, we're in trouble. And literally, if he gets hired out of here, by the way, we're in trouble. He's like that old guy that knows where all the water mains are.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's something we get a little bit more information on their services and what it includes.
It should be a simple request
Right.
for Will to provide that information.
I'd be able for that, to see what all services we actually get for that. If there's any above and beyond.
Were there any other items y'all were picking out of two? Because that's the only reason why I talked about it, because I saw y'all down there with the pickup trucks.
So I've got the IT, the pickleball courts, and public works pickup trucks on mine. Is that right? And then on the zero, I had new mower, the equipment lift, and the basketball. You're gonna add, do you have a number for the basketball courts, Jeff?
Do you remember, Matt, do you remember what it cost to build the one we've got now? 25,000 ballpark?
It was 19 for the concrete. It was another 1,900 for the 2 goals. So it was a little under, I think after everything was said, it was around 23 something.
So if you figured 25 apiece,
Yes, sir.
About right.
No, 50 grand.
And I will bring something, Jason, that I don't know that we've talked about. You know, we got the grant where we're gonna double the size of Liberty Park, and that's coming with new equipment. That's not repairing or replacing any of the existing equipment out there, is it, Matt? That's just the Liberty Park extension,
That's
the
not,
grant.
that's correct, yes, sir.
That's just new property, new equipment.
Correct.
So there's probably 7 or 8 pieces out there. A couple of them are plastic and a couple of them are newer. But there's 4 or 5 pieces out there, the old steel merry-go-round and steel seesaws. Some of them are rusted. We really need to do something about that. I don't know what it would cost, but.
I'd probably say that the only 2 things that I would keep is the swing set and there's a big structure.
Yeah,
All that other small stuff,
Yeah.
we need replacing, that's probably gonna be somewhere around 15,000.
what about the slide? It has some rough spots on it,
You could replace the slide, but not the structure,
doesn't it? Right.
so, yes, sir.
I'm putting that on my list, you're gonna have to vote it down.
Well, I think while you're there, you know, whether it's 49 or even Highway 18, because a lot of that equipment, with the exception of the inclusion park, has been out there for a while. So I'd ask Matt to take a look at the existing playground equipment and make the recommendation. So if we're going to do it, let's just clean it up.
Yeah, I know, Highway 49 playground, the existing one at the complex, is in dire need of
Okay.
upgrade.
Mhm.
I mean, it's usable, they utilize it, but it needs upgrading. And if we're gonna look at doing it, we could get a company to come in and look at all of them, and more the package, the better value.
Here.
So did we, what did we come up with on the, Jason, you don't get to answer this one. What did we come up with on the parking lot at 18? Are we gonna put some gravel there?
This
We're gonna call and get a
more cheaper, more better. It's free service offered, but you might get some practice on your tractor out there too if you want to.
You got the attachment that pulled them,
And yours won't pull mine, but you got a little scraper for yours, don't
a little scraper.
you? You got a little tractor, I mean,
I think for this year, we need,
all I gotta do is finish mowing and do some no-till and I'm free.
we need to do some maintenance on the 18 parking lot with some gravel and some volunteer work, it sounds like.
Public-private partnership. I just figured you might need some experience on your tractor. That'd be a wide open area. You can't hit too much out there.
So one of these Sundays when somebody has a piece of equipment I want to play too. Thank you. Just saying, do my part.
There you go.
And I'll call you when I take that machine out there. I'll let you ride your heart out.
Thank
All
you.
you gotta do is around and around and around.
That's all I need.
All right, so y'all take us through again, kind of where we are on, so the 5s and 4s and 3s, and then,
Yeah, so 5, 4s, and 3s are on, number 15, was it, yeah, 15, 24, 33. Some part of 26, 22, 25, and we just call them 40 and 41, which is basketball courts and then the playground equipment. Fives, 4s, and 3s, all of them. Under 2, 15, 24, and 33. Under 0, 22, 25. And then the 2 that we added, I'm just calling them 40 and 41, which is the basketball courts at Fannie Wells and playground equipment at Liberty Park in 18.
Real,
Basketball course,
50.
50,000.
How much to go with,
We're putting two more basketball courts in at 49.
Yes, sir.
So, on the playground, all the playgrounds we've done, the last couple times we've done them, we've done, ROPs. Then basically, we've said we gotta we got $100,000, we got $50,000, what can you give us this value? Y'all wanna do it that way, or do you want to try to just do our normal bid thing? It seems to work better by saying, give us what you can do, because no company is apples to apples, they all have some slightly different.
Yeah, I would do an RFP, just ask for proposals on it. We did need to, on Liberty Park though, we're going with the, 2 to 5 age range for the new,
Correct.
the grant part. So we'll go with bigger, kids for the program.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, Commissioner Wood.
We didn't have, what would both of them? Budget and grant? Whatever he says, instead of about 30%. Yeah, he's fixing to come up with a way.
And we're talking about, Matty Wells, upgrading 49, upgrading 18, the old playground 18, and then upgrading Liberty Park, and the new Liberty Park, or not the new Liberty Park? That's before that.
The new's gonna be in the grant.
Okay, so upgrade the old.
And Matty Wells is in Splost.
Okay, so no more.
Yeah.
So just 18 and Liberty Park, Old Park.
I think it's gonna be close to,
And,
yeah, 85 to 100,000
For all.
total.
Total.
Saying 49, because that, the equipment behind it.
Oh, behind the ball field,
Yeah.
behind the T-ball field.
Yeah, that was included.
Okay, that, I thought I heard him just say 18 on
All right,
Liberty Park.
real quick. Commissioner Wood, you had any additional numbers, or you good with the ones that,
I'm good with what we have.
Ms. Stone, I know you got here late, did you have opportunity to check them and check it? You good with that?
I did have one question. The salary increase, that included cost of living, or was it just?
2%?
So we did 2% cost of living and then 2% once the evaluations are done.
So a total of 4. All right, and that number reflects the
If
4%.
evaluations are done, and we talked about,
It's gonna take a year to do an evaluation, isn't it?
yeah, if they hadn't been started, hadn't been done,
You're gonna have to do a year like evaluation, not 30 days. We start off with 2, and then once the evaluation system's in place and done properly, then we,
So let's incentivize it, right? If your department can get your evaluations done quickly, then you can be included in the raises, because we're going to allocate the money. We're sitting it there. I don't want to do it like we did last time, like we had it out there for the salary studies and we really waited all the way to the end and we didn't retro it. I would like it, you know, if their departments are going to be efficient, they're going to go through it. The money's there, let them have it.
say, let's do the 2%, give them the incentive to do the 2, you know.
Oh,
do
yeah, I'm saying the
evaluation
incentivize, yes.
After a year, and then they say, okay, after a year, you got opportunity for this.
Oh, that's
mean, it's-
terrible carrot. That's a terrible carrot. The
No,
carrot
you're gonna
wilts.
have everybody run and do it, and they're gonna quit doing it again. Give them 12 months to prove themselves. It's just, oh, we got it, we ain't gotta do it no more. I can see it happen. Hate to be that way,
I think that gives you time to have human resources and Jason
sure.
do the cleaning up and fine tuning. So I think you implement it now and they fine tune it, because if they are in a hurry, we're gonna fix that process too. So you don't get the raise till it's done right.
Right. What y'all's thought? What you like? Is it 4% or the 2, and then once they implement it?
well, we're saying we're putting the 4% in there now, but the other 2's not gonna come until they implement the evaluation.
Accurate, yeah.
And the only difference is he's saying hold it out a year, and I'm saying once the department gets done with it and it's right, they get their money.
Well, I get, and I guess it would be a human resource question. I don't see how we can do it without 6 months evaluation. Because we do, you know.
That's what I'm trying to get, there's gotta be a time period
gotta
to
be a
get
time
this done.
period.
When everybody got their raise last year, was part of that input also that they were gonna have to do evaluations, and nobody's doing the evaluations?
I don't think anybody did an assessment, a beginning assessment. So you can't start now and say, here's your evaluation, you're doing a great job, here's your money.
Right,
I think you gotta have a starting point and at least normally, the
6
chairman's
months.
right, you would need a year to evaluate so that your performance is evaluated. But if we wanna put it in this budget cycle, then, we can do it and have the money by summer. It gives you 6 months to start the assessment now and have say, a mid-year evaluation.
Yeah, we definitely need to do the evaluations because we have some underperformers, and I'll be using a nice word there, and then we have some achievers and some overachievers. And they need to be rewarded accordingly.
You good with that? Your last one there?
We're talking about a whole year? No, I'm not good with that, but
6 months?
6 months.
not 6
Flexible.
months to a year, 6 months.
6 months.
6 months, I'm flexible.
Yeah, 6 months. Huh? 6 is better than 12. I'll go with
Okay.
6.
That's the
Generally, it takes us-
evaluation period. At the end of 6 months, either you get it or you don't.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You're saying do evaluation in September and then reevaluate in April?
Yeah.
If that's 6 months, don't want to count.
March?
All right.
Long day.
March. Good?
Yeah.
Did we give you some guidance, Jason?
I think we got it,
Well, if we could, right quick, let's take if I can get a motion to adjourn the work session, take a quick break before we go into open session.
Motion to adjourn, Chairman.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
I have a quick break, and we'll get back in here as soon as everybody's here, we'll get started. Yes.